Let's go.
You're listening to Making Data Simple, where we make the world of data effortless, relevant, and yes, even fun.
Welcome back to Making Data Simple. Al Martin here. Hope everybody's doing extremely well. I've got two guests today. First guest is Vikram Murali, who is the VP of Application Modernization and IT Automation for IBM. It's an IBM podcast today. We've done a lot of third party, and now we're going to do some IBM. And I have Sarah McAndrew, who is the VP of Automation for Technical Sales. If you haven't guessed already, the topic is automation. It is a three-way dialogue, so if you didn't have the host that you have today, you wouldn't be able to manage it, but this host will figure it out. But thank you, Vikram. Thank you, Sarah, for being here to lead us through automation. Obviously, I have automation in my portfolio. I'm going to ask some of the questions that I often hear from clients. But before I jump into automation, I would ask that you guys introduce yourselves. Sarah, a little introduction, if you don't mind.
Well, thank you, Al. Looking forward to having this discussion. I'm the Vice President of Global Technical Sales for Automation, and I've been in IBM quite a long time. I've seen IBM transform as we move from the company it was to the AI and hybrid person it is today. So it's great being here. I'm here with you so that we can really talk about automation and the role it has with data and AI and what IBM sees in automation and why everyone should be listening about it.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Lehigh University and I was an electrical engineer.
Vikram, a quick intro.
Yeah, thank you. So Vikram Murali, I'm the Vice President of Development for IBM Automation. This year, specifically concentrating on our IBM Observability portfolio. Been at IBM for close to 2 decades now. Most of it was on the data and AI side. This is my second time on your podcast, Al. I don't know if you remember. We did one.
I do remember. I didn't know if you remembered, but yes, I remember.
Back in the, I think 2018-19 timeframe when we did the appliance business for data. Glad to be back here. And automation is everywhere. We talk about AI and AI agents and so on and so forth. And as Sarah was saying, I think our company has transformed itself a lot over the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years. And we are at the forefront of AI right now and, would like to discuss and talk about how we are using automation and how AI plays a role in automation.
Awesome. Where'd you go to college?
My undergrad was in India, engineering in India, a city called Chennai, the southern state of India in Tamil Nadu. And my master's was here in the United States, combination of KU as well as online university called University of Phoenix. I don't know if it exists anymore, but that's where I did my MBA. Yeah.
Does it not exist? I think it probably exists.
I used to live in Kansas and I used to work at IBM. IBM actually paid for my master's, so thankful for IBM for that.
So you had me at KU in Kansas. You know that. Vikram and I knew each other back in the day, even before IBM, or did you come in after IBM?
I joined IBM, so I didn't come through the acquisition. So I joined IBM directly, but I knew you before from some of the common friends that we had during the Informix days.
Yes, fantastic. And now you're in sunny California.
Sunny California, it is.
It still doesn't beat Kansas, man. All right, so let's jump into automation. And my first question is pretty simple. I'll go with you first, Vikram, on this one. What is automation these days? I mean, what's the definition?
I think it's become synonymous with AI because everyone thinks AI can help and AI agents can help with automation, which is true. But automation has existed long before AI. It's at its simplest form, think about it as you have a set of repetitive tasks. You write run books, you write scripts, whatever you're doing. How do you remove the human element out of it? And how can you automate those tasks, right? And we are not talking about replacing humans. We are talking about better processes, automating processes that can take care of itself, freeing up human time or the time that we manually spend on these processes for doing something better, right? So automation has existed for a very long time. There are different kinds of automation, business process automation, automation in infrastructure provisioning, automation in runbook. How do you convert runbooks, which were a bunch of scripts written into how do you automate those? So it's been there for a long time. But I think the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years, we've seen a merge of automation with AI, especially with the advent of AI agents. There is a lot more you can do with automation nowadays. So that's how I would describe it. how do you automate processes? How do you make things faster? How can you get faster business results and business outcomes by automation? That's where we concentrate on.
If not,
I'd
that's
say
fine.
that IBM has been doing automation since the start of time. I mean, we did automation with the first mainframe to fill the room, but it just did a calculation that a human couldn't do. And eventually it's emerged from doing just simple calculations to doing business processes and business works. I like to sum it up as automation is giving you the ability to do more with less. You're able to expand your people to do greater tasks that's more important to the human element, and getting rid of other things that are less needed or more tedious. So I'd say it allows you to do more with less, and the company that can do the most with the least is going to be the most profitable.
Let me ask this follow-up question, and Vikram kind of alluded to this. IBM has what's called a technology atlas. And what it is essentially a roadmap of where our platforms like automation, AI, infrastructure, quantum, on and on, are going to evolve towards in terms of our prediction through 2030. So listeners should take a listen to that. But when I even went out there for automation, a lot of it was generative AI, AI assistance. Explain it to me.
So the way I would define it is you need data for everything, right? So if you look at the AI systems that we have, be it traditional AI, we used to call it data science, and then came large language models with LLMs, and now small language models, and now AI agents. So for all of this, you need data. So I would say data is the foundation. We collect data one way or the other. We all generate data every day from everything that we do, consumers and enterprises. So the data is what is the foundation of everything that we do, and AI comes on top. Now, the volume of data that we all are producing on a daily basis, it's not possible for some of the traditional mechanism and algorithms and everything that we did in the past to understand what is happening with that data, to come up with trends and so on and so forth. That's where AI with large language models and agentic AI, all of these help us understand that data more, action it as the data is coming in real time. So that's where AI comes on top. Now, although I said data is the foundation, there is an underlying element, which that is where automation and specifically IBM observability, the observability piece that we were talking about, comes in. Because most customers and most clients that we work with, they already are monitoring their systems for performance. They have to monitor their infrastructure for optimal usage, and so on and so forth. But it usually is an afterthought. So where automation comes into the picture, and specifically where observability comes into the picture, is that are you observing and monitoring your infrastructure? It is being optimally used. I'll give you an example. With AI, GPUs are very expensive, right? You need GPUs to train your models, to do whatever you do with AI. But GPUs are very expensive. There were some instances in my own teams where, let's say we had 100 GPUs. At any given point in time, only 30, 40, 50% were being used. The others were sitting idle. Now, how do you know that? How can you find that out? And you cannot look into the usage of GPUs with something as simple as monitoring tools. You need observability, right? So that's where automation comes in, because not only can I observe my infrastructure usage, I can automatically assign it to developers and to teams that need that GPU who are waiting in line, right? So observability is key in everything that we do, especially with generative AI coming in. That's where the more complication comes in, because you need to make sure you're using your hardware, using your infrastructure, and you're paying top dollar for it. So make sure you're utilizing it the way you're using it, right? So when we talk about automation, we need to dive a little bit deeper. Where exactly are we using it? How are we using it? But all of these three things go hand in hand. There is no AI without data. There is no proper using of data without automation. So I would say it's like a flywheel, and all of these three things go hand in hand with each other.
And observability, just one follow-up on that one, is the front end of the funnel for automation. Is that how you would explain it?
So I would say observability is like an absolute requirement for anything that you do in your IT landscape, right? Like one of the examples I gave you was, how do you observe your infrastructure, make sure it's being optimally used, it's not sitting idle, especially if you're developing on the cloud. You don't want, your cloud infrastructure to be up and running when you're really not using it. You want to shut it down, or you want to assign it to other applications and developers who really need that infrastructure, right? So that's one part of observability. The second part is around, when you have your applications up and running, are they really performing? Just because an application is up 99.999% of the time doesn't mean it's usable. How do you measure that, right? So that's where the observability piece comes in at the application layer. Are you observing and are you measuring your application's performance? And if your application is not performing the way it is supposed to, how do you track it? How do you do root cause analysis? And how do you get in front of bad things happening, right, to your application? So that's what we call application performance monitoring. And again, that is something which in observability, we spend a lot of our time in. The last piece is what we call is infrastructure monitoring, right? So yes, you can monitor infrastructure, you can assign infrastructure to different, areas, but there is also a network piece there. Your infrastructure, your applications, everything that works on top is only as good as your network. So who's monitoring the performance of the network? When we have bottlenecks in the network, how are we routing the traffic? So observability goes through the entire stack, starts with network, goes with infrastructure. And then when applications are actually deployed, it goes with, are you monitoring your application? And now we are also going towards the app development lifecycle of an application. Can you observe your applications for security? Where are the vulnerabilities occurring? Can you patch vulnerabilities faster than you can? So these are all areas of observability that we see our clients investing a lot of time and effort in.
Thank you. I want to come back to observability, but before I do, Sarah, question, you kind of referenced this before, saying we've been doing automation forever. But if you just compare automation from like 3 years ago to now, what has changed?
I think we've discovered that there's many different aspects that a customer would like to automate. And we've kind of expanded our view of automation, which was more application automation, to go into 3 areas. First is the infrastructure automation, of which Vikram talked quite a bit about, the infrastructure lifecycle management, automation, observability, and things like that. Then we have the application automation, which IBM has been doing a long time. You have to manage your APIs, which are critical to that AI motion. You don't have your APIs managed, you can't actually use them, and it becomes a bit of a mess. You need to understand your runtimes and how you do your DevOps. That's all in that application layer. That's where IBM has done really well. So we've advanced into that infrastructure layer much better, the observability in that layer, where we continue to innovate on our core middle application automation layer. And then most recently, we advanced into the understanding the value of your applications and is your investment worth making? And that's with the Aptio and our asset lifecycle management. So truly understanding how you automate understanding the visibility and value of the businesses that you're using, that you're driving, the applications. Is your investment worth it? Where you should invest more, where you should invest less. So there's all different layers of application, and IBM is trying to level and help customers do all 3 entry points, different pieces of that automation discovery.
In terms of automation, IBM automation, what do you see is the cutting edge technologies either IBM has or that are in the market today?
So being an IBMer, I will answer the IBM.
Okay, fair enough.
So Sarah mentioned, the infrastructure layer, right? So if you look at network, for example, we have really great offerings there. NS1 and SEV1 come to mind. NS1 and SEV1, they are observability tools at the network layer that help with network performance management and network resource management. And SEV1 specifically I call out because if you look at the Super Bowl that just happened, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think one of the numbers was around 53 million online streaming users that were actually watching the Super Bowl. And what most people don't realize or recognize is that there is our network performance management software running underneath the platforms that do the streaming. And we are very proud that over the last several years, never a blip when we actually do help these streaming platforms.
I hope you're not challenging somebody out there. They go,
can take it as a challenge. We would love a challenge.
All right, good.
So huge numbers, right? Huge numbers when we talk about the millions of people who watch it. And these are signature sporting events. So we have great products that actually help network performance management and network resource management. If you go a little above the stack, there is infrastructure management, right? Observability and management. And there, I would say Turbo, one of the best products in the market, second to none. And Turbo started off with, think of it as, okay, showing you this is where these applications need more CPU on the server, these applications need more memory on the server, or maybe a Friday evening, your developer is not using a cloud instance, why waste money, let's shut it down, so on and so forth. But Turbo is slowly getting into, I would say, with Apptio, with Cloudability, into the FinOps space as well, where we can help you financially. We can actually show you where your dollars are being spent, and you can actually take actions, preset actions on, saving money, bringing your servers down, as I said, one example. Turbo is in that application or infrastructure, resource management area, right? And along with Apptio, it can really help you with FinOps as well. Then the layer top, we have applications. So Sarah mentioned we've been doing application performance management or application management generally in that area for a very long time. But Instana is a great offering there when it comes to application performance management. We are one of those only tools out there that collects logs every second, right? And with that, we don't miss anything. So there are tools out there that collect information once every 5 seconds, 10 seconds, which means you're probably seeing only 60% or 70% of what you need to see. We are the only tool out there that can actually show you 100% because of all the logs that we collect. A lot of our SRE teams and DevOps teams use it for root cause analysis, right? Pinpointing what happened when an application is not performing well. And you use that to learn better and make sure your applications are performing. So that's the application area. But now we are getting more and more into the left.
What product is that? By the way,
That's
Turbo is
Instana.
Turbonomic, but we affectionately refer to inside as Turbo. Got
Yeah.
that, but which is the application product? I mean, usually I don't go products, but we're hitting that. That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, that is Instana. Instana is the product that helps with application performance management. And then if you look at application lifecycle development, right, that's an area that we've worked on for a long time, but we are more and more regulations coming in almost every country around the world. We as software developers and also as SRE and DevOps teams, our teams are being constantly asked to make sure that we are developing applications in a very secure manner, right? Secure development practices. And for that, it means that you're on top of your vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities are popping up every day. A lot of security issues that happen. So how do we stay on top of it? How do we patch these from time to time? How do we tell developers when they are developing code that they are, if they are using especially libraries from open source, packages and all of that from open source, that they are not using versions that have vulnerabilities already in them. So that's where products like IBM Concert comes into play. Helps developers with vulnerability management, helps SRE and DevOps teams with certificate management. And now we are also looking at resilience. One example I'll give you is DORA, Digital Operational Resilience Act in Europe, that became mandatory starting January 1st. But how do you help SRE and DevOps team say that their applications or whatever environment they are on is DORA compliant? So our offerings like Concert can help you with that as well. So again, going bottom up, I should say, from network all the way to the infrastructure, all the way to application and to application lifecycle development, we have offerings throughout the stack.
So let me say that back to you. So what I heard, and by the way, I know you love all your children. So we mentioned a few of the products, but some of those products being infrastructure, observability, network resource, that's like NS1. We have infrastructure management, which is like Turbonomic and or Apptio, which is termed as FinOps. Then you got application management with Instana, application lifecycle development, which is Concert. Didn't mention RPA or some of the others. Anything else worth mentioning before I ask the follow-on question?
So observability space, I would just mention these, but if we look at the larger automation space, right, as Sarah mentioned a few, we have business process automation, we have automation in the API space. The world communicates, software communicates with each other through APIs. Now, how do we govern them? How do you make sure they are developed in a secure manner? So we have offerings in the API space. So we have several other offerings down the, up and down the automation stack. The ones that I mentioned were specific to the observability portfolio, how we are observing that your infrastructure and your applications are performing top notch.
Well, I have a question for you. Did you know that IBM has two Emmys, and the product or solution that has two Emmys sits in automation? Do you know what it is?
That has two. I mean, you know what? I sit
It
right
actually
next
has
to the
two
director.
Emmys, legitly.
Yeah, no, I sit right next to marketing, and I think they've got the Emmys actually sitting over there. I was wondering about that. So I do believe you because I have seen them. Which product? I should probably know this.
It's all about running those movies. So it's Aspera. Nothing else can get it through fast enough to get the connectivity. So Aspera owns two Emmys. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. But how does all that fit under automation, the umbrella? It seems like a lot of products.
But what people don't realize is automation is really about making things work. So when you have the data layer, it's about that content in the data. It's where all the information sits. Automation is to get that data out. And when you have to get that data out, you need all the different pieces. You need to be able to integrate it. You need to have the APIs to talk to it. You need to manage those APIs. And if you can't do that, you can't automate anything. That's the input to doing something as cool as a Black Friday system and automate your order management. Or let's think about a sports thing showing a betting system so that you can actually have the proper bets and have it up and running and hit peak when the kickoff happens. Or more importantly, ensures that if the stock market goes crazy, it actually reaches peak and doesn't crash and we lose all our money. So all that is tied to automation. And in order to do that, you need proper APIs and integration. You need a proper development and runtimes to test it all out. You need to be able to see what resources are needed, but also be profitable at the same time where you just have an overload flood of resources and servers out there. And you have to be able to understand how to crawl through all that data that you've been surfaced through the data team and say what is valuable to your customer so that you're not just sending out marketing information that they don't care about at all. Understanding how to read the customer and sending the right marketing and getting it to them quick enough and faster than your competitors, that's what real automation is. So that's why it all sits in automation. Sometimes I call it a bucket of parts, but if you have the right bucket of parts and you put them together right, you can make a really big creation.
Pretty good answer. I have to give you that one. And you got me on the Emmys. But on the Emmys, how does that work? Hollywood, you can't convince me that they have any idea what Aspera is. You might as well say what Aspera is.
I'm telling you, we have two Emmys, and I'm always going to be
how did we get it?
Product in the entire world. We got two Emmys. Like, how could I not bring that up?
I do not see George Clooney presenting us with the Emmys. I don't think he would. So we must have got it behind the scenes somehow. Okay, but I have seen him, so I believe you. Totally believe you. You better tell folks what Aspera is real quick, other than speed. Say a few words on Aspera.
Fast file transfer. So if you want to get anything quick enough, any kind of video feeds anywhere in the world, if it drops or anything, it gets it there faster with the least amount of latency and the least amount of data going through. So it gets there quicker with the least amount of cost. So it can fly through. It can do anything like that, which is why the movies, the Vegas Sphere runs on Aspera in order to get all those pictures up there all the time without any blip, no matter what's going on in the world's network. That's Aspera. So basically those big massive video feeds and your telecom, that's Aspera sending massive file transfers and the video speed through.
That reminds me of the Silicon Valley show.
I think it was on HBO.
It was a really good show. I only watched like the first 2 or 3 seasons, but wasn't it a file transfer startup or something?
It was a video file transfer service.
I digress.
We have the whole hybrid integration piece and all that. We focus here. I just had to bring it. But as I said, we could have many podcasts on everything automation can do. But
having said all this, and I'll get back to observability, I promise, because I know we want to talk about that specifically because there's some challenges there in the industry today, and we've got some solutions. But why IBM? What's the 2-minute pitch on automation then? With all these products, what's the 2-minute pitch?
The best part of IBM is that we understand what it's like to have legacy systems, core banking needs that you have, the jewels of your company there. You can't just throw them out the window. So we understand how you can leverage your jewels and not let go of what you have, but advance them in the future so that you can actually make it get there quicker, faster, and at the response times we need today. So the new companies today may not understand your legacy jewels. The old ones may not be able to move like a dinosaur quicker, faster. We understand both worlds. So we're creating tools to allow you to integrate, understand, and use both of those worlds when each one makes the most sense. Also, we allow you to look at any layer of entry you want and allow it to connect through. We'll help you if you want to understand what your business applications need to do. We can also help you make your infrastructure better. And who best been doing it since doing it forever and has grown with these products over all that time. So we just understand how to make you go from where you are today to something better without throwing out everything you've already done.
So all of these offerings that we discussed about, be it Turbo or Instana or Apptio, be it Concert, we don't tell our customers to use something that we ourselves don't. And what I mean by that is we are the client zero. So IBM development, our software development teams, we use Turbo, we use Instana, we use Concert, we use Aspera. All of our offerings that we mention here, our CIO's office uses them, our CISO teams use them. So we use it for our own developmental practices. We use it for our own SRE and DevOps teams. They use these products to maintain and manage those SaaS instances that our customers, expect us to provide the best service on. So we use all of these products. So we are client zero. And my usual take when someone asks me, okay, why IBM is, look, we have battle tested these products. If they can work for the scale of IBM and for the scale of our customers that we have, then it'll work for any business case out there, right? So that'll be my answer to it.
Podcast listeners, I'm going to break this up into two. So stay tuned for Vikram and Sarah next week, where we'll dive further into automation, but also hit on observability. See you then.